Hey gang, how you doing? Adam Rafferty here, funky fingerstyle guitarist from New York City, and I've got a cool lesson for you today on the circle of fifths. There will be no memorizing involved, no heavy theory stuff. It's going to just lay on the guitar nice and easy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some cool graphics that will help you visualize this in a way that maybe you've never thought about. So before we start with the lesson, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd love for you to know about new videos that pop up here on the channel. So don't miss a video. Please subscribe and head on over to Facebook and please click that like button, because being liked on Facebook is what life's all about. And if you've got any questions or comments, something's not clear to you, maybe, go ahead, leave a comment below, or maybe you just like the video or want to say hi to me. So go ahead and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So one of the things I'm going to address in this lesson is why the circle of fifths is tricky for guitar players. There's certain things that are not native to the guitar the way they would be native to a piano. Okay, so let's go to the slideshow, and I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to try to be as clear as I can be, and at the end of this whole lesson, you'll be able to walk away without sheet music, without anything, and just do this yourself on the guitar. But it's going to take a little bit of information beforehand so that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. So let's go to the slideshow and let's get started. All right, the circle of fifths for guitar players. You're going to really enjoy this. And the best part of it is there's nothing to memorize. Ha ha. There's a little bit to memorize, but not much. I think you can do it. Okay. Number one, this follows the natural order. The natural order of the universe, the natural order of the cosmos. And the more you look at it, the more you'll understand it. So, for example, have you memorized that February follows January? Maybe at one point you did, but even if you didn't, because you use a calendar, you just know it. It comes up in life. It's one of the things that you've worked with all the time. Same thing. Have you memorized that 3 p.m. comes after 2 p.m.? Of course not. You use your watch, you use a schedule, you use train schedules, or I use train schedules when I'm on tour. So to get a handle on the circle of fifths, you'll need to use it a little bit, but all you've got to do is observe. There's no crazy memorization and filling your head with 9 million facts, so you can relax. The circle of fifths puts the keys in a particular order so that we can see which keys are similar in color, meaning which keys share notes that are common to both keys. We can see which keys are closely related. That's another way of saying the same thing. And we can see which keys are very far apart from each other. So as I was preparing the lesson this morning, I was trying to think of instances in nature that do exactly the same thing as the circle of fifths. Okay, so one of the things that came to mind was a lunar cycle. So check this out. Up at 12 o'clock, we have a full light circular full moon. Okay, and as we come around clockwise, that's to the right, a little bit of shadow starts to creep in. And as we slip down the right side to 6 o'clock, the moon is fully dark, almost. And then as we work our way up from 6 o'clock back up to 12 o'clock, the shadow recedes and the light comes back. So I couldn't think of a better example, because this is exactly what happens on the piano. Okay, it's hard to see it on the guitar, but on the piano, as we go around the circle of fifths, we can start with the key of C major, which is all white keys, and we just keep adding one black key until the scale gets full of black keys. And as we keep going through the circle, then the black keys start falling off again, and we get back to just having white keys. So let's look again at the lunar cycle picture. Okay, so you see the shadow creeping in. Think of that as your black keys on the piano. That's what the circle of fifths is going to do. Okay, and I will illustrate that for you, so just stay tuned. Now I've got a couple other images of the natural order of things. One of them is color. Here's a 12-step color wheel, not to be confused with a 12-step program. It's a 12-step color wheel. And this shows us which colors are closely related. And it also shows us, like 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, which colors are opposite. They're on opposite ends of the circle from one another. Another example of a cycle would be the seasons and the months. Depending on where you live, you may or may not have 4 seasons, but living in New York, I enjoyed 4 seasons very much. And one season logically slips into the next, hopefully, and 1 month bleeds into the next. Okay, so these are kind of like the circle of fifth keys, which you will see. One bleeds logically into the next. So now a really important question is, what is a key? You know, we're talking about keys, and it's a very hard question to answer, to give a really good definition. I remember when I was in music school, even after several years of music school, I couldn't say exactly what a key was. Very often there are explanations like, well, it's the scale, well, it's the center, well, it's the chords, it's the chord that the song or piece ends on. So let's go to the screen. Let's figure out the best definition of a key. So what is a key? Here's my best definition. A key is a central tone around which the others revolve. And let's just add to this, it is not a scale. It is not the notes of the scale. It is best to think of a key almost like one would think of a solar system. Okay, so now let's look at a solar system, but a kind of a messed up solar system. Everything's just in a line. Of course, the sizes are not correct, but we never see the solar system like this. So this is the equivalent of a scale. It's just the notes lined up one after the other. This doesn't really show how a key hangs together. But if we look at the circular version of a solar system, this describes it a little bit better. So imagine if we were in the key of C, and C was the sun. It's sort of like all the notes are revolving and behaving around it a certain way in relation to the central tone. So if we're in, these are now the notes of the C major scale. I just sort of plop them next to some planets. No real thought to where I plop them. I'm not going to get weird like that. But C is the center, and the other tones are revolving around it. And that also means the other chromatic notes, because very often you can be, for example, in the key of C in a very jazzy context and still be slipping and sliding through these other notes. So it's not only the notes of the major scale. So C is exerting that force on all the other notes. It's like a gravitational pull. I'm going to digress for a brief moment simply because in all my thinking of the natural order of music, there's something that I couldn't possibly leave out, even though it's not directly related to the circle of fifths, and that's the subject of rhythm. So what I'd like to do is I just want to paint a little picture on the screen for you of how I see rhythm, and you'll see there's a lot of similarities as to what we've done so far. All right, so who is this guy on the screen? This is Dizzy Gillespie. He was one of the founding fathers of a style of jazz called bebop, and he was a trumpet player. He wasn't really mainly a conga player, but he was the band leader with whom my teacher, Mike Longo, played for many, many years. And Dizzy taught Mike a lot about rhythm, and Mike taught a lot of that to me. And without turning this into a rhythm lesson fully, I just want to illustrate the beautiful mathematics of how the rhythms hang together, because it's similar to what's going to happen in the keys. So Dizzy had a very special 12-note African pattern. We call that African 12-8. And one of the things that we do is we play that 12-note pattern, we leave the hands going, and then we count a certain 3 pattern over that, okay? But then the really cool thing happens when we shift that pattern of 3, 1 beat over, then we can shift it over again, and we can shift it over again. You see what starts to happen? We get this beautiful, almost mosaic mandala kind of thing happening with the rhythm. But that's not all. You can also count to 4, which is now represented by the square. And then you can move that. And then you can move it again. And the 4s and the 3s do this beautiful lockup. And that's really the basis of groove. Okay? And isn't that cosmic and weird? Number 12. Just like 12 months in a year, 12 hours on the clock, and there's 12 beats in this very universal groove. So just a little side note, I have a course on Study with Adam where I show this in great detail and explain it fully, and I have play-along MP3s. It's called Improve Your Groove. If you want to go deeper into the study of this, there's the website, Study with Adam. There's also lots of cool cover song courses where I fully teach all my fingerings of how to play things like Killing Me Softly, Man in the Mirror, In My Life. You see here on the screen, here's a few more. Billie Jean, Autumn Leaves, all that. And also on the site, just as a side note, you can upload videos to me and I will give you a personal coaching video in return. As you can see here, somebody uploaded Silent Night to me, and I coached him in terms of what he's doing well and where things could be tightened up a little bit. But let's get back to the circle of fifths. All right, so I had mentioned to you before that pianists were at a real advantage to get a bird's eye view of this, because the notes are laid out in such a way that they always know what note they're playing at any given time. Whereas us guitarists, we're looking at a grid of horizontal and vertical lines, strings and frets. And so we've got to bring a little bit of knowledge to what we're doing. All right, so if you were taking piano lessons, right out of the gates, you'd be learning where the notes are on the piano. And this would put you at an advantage. Whereas if you are looking at the guitar neck, you just see what's on the right, frets and strings, with no idea what note we're playing. But it's pleasing because it's fun to play the guitar. Hey, I dig it. And you know what? All those pianists who learned all the notes, they don't get as many chicks as we get. I mean, look at that charismatic young chap at the right, so he's going to do a lot better in the chick department. But or maybe the guy department, I don't know what he's into. But the guy on the left, the little guy, he's going to know something about music and key centers. So the guy on the right might need to do a little bit of catch up. And so that's us right now. We're going to need to think a little bit about where a few of the notes are on the neck. But like I said, I'm going to lay it out for you. There's not any memorizing you've got to do. Okay? All right, so now what I'm going to do is give you a little formula of how to get around the circle of fifths. And I'm going to give you an even easier formula at the end of the video, but I want to show you step by step how we are arriving at this formula. So if we're going around a clock, we know that we always add 1. Okay, so for example, if we're looking at a clock, we see 1 o'clock, we know that we have to add the number 1 to get to 2 o'clock. Now that might seem obvious, but how do we get around the circle on the guitar? Okay, so let's take a look. Now, I'm going to play the 8th fret, low E string, with my second finger. The note is C. And I'm going to do a simple pattern. Now watch this. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. So I'm doing 8th fret, 10th fret with my pinky, first finger in the 7th fret, second finger in the 8th fret, I'm on the A string, and then pinky. Ball, 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 bomb. Okay, so if we play a C scale and we want to know what the next thing on the circle of fifths is going to be, so let's say this is the equivalent, let's call it 12 o'clock, and we want to find out what's 1 o'clock going to be, all we got to do is go. And that note G will be the basis of the next key that we're going to. Okay? So, and then we would go ahead and play a G scale. And we're just going to keep always flipping into the next scale by going 5 notes up from where we were. If that seems kind of crazy, if it seems kind of weird, don't worry, we're going to walk through it nice and slow. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so now, here we are. That is the key of C right there. And it's 7 white little dots. And that's because there are actually 7 notes in the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 8th note is just a repeat of the first note. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the white dots are because of the white keys on the piano. If we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doing that shape I just showed you, C, D, E, F, G, our next scale will be, or our next key center will be G. Now look at that. There's 1 black dot. So if we were to play a G major scale, now on the guitar, that's the exact same fingering. I'm just moving it down so that my first note is G. But if we were on a piano, you'd see that you'd have to play 1 black key, happens to be that one, F sharp. You'd have to play 1 black key to get the right sound. Okay? Get it? Now if we go, we're going to use our formula. Do, 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 do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G, A. It's hard to sing that low. G, A, B, C, D. G, A, B, C, D. So our next key area is going to be D. And I bet if you see what's happening with the black keys, you can predict there will be 2 black keys if you were a piano player. So there's a D. So if we're in the key of D, again, on the guitar, it's just a matter of sliding up to the right fret, but you would need 2 black keys. And why am I not telling you which ones? Because I don't want to boggle your mind with details and memorization. It's more important that you see these colors shift for now, okay? Let's keep going. I'm going to start speeding up a little bit, so try to stay with me. That's the first note, D, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And don't worry if you don't know about what your sharps, I'll walk you through. So our next one's going to be A. And guess how many black keys there are going to be? 3. So now we're on A. And if I go do, 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 do. If I wanted that on a piano, I would be playing 3 black keys. Okay. Now A, B, C sharp, D, E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I go up to E, there are going to be 4 black keys. Okay. So if I go a fifth above that, bum, 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 bum. E, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. My next scale is going to be B, and I can tell you from playing a B scale on the piano quite a lot, we're now using all the black keys, and my thumb on the right hand only plays 2 of those white keys. Okay, now this next one might be a little confusing, so I'm going to take a little time to explain. Let's go up 5 notes. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. Now there's another name for F sharp, and that name is G flat. Okay, and I'm just writing G flat here. I chose that. I didn't want to clutter up the screen and get into a whole confusing conversation. Let's just call that G flat. And now you see 6 black dots. And I need to do a little explaining here. There are 6 accidentals in the key. Accidentals, okay? And you don't worry, it's not the kind of accidental that you have to clean up afterwards. Accidentals are customarily the black keys. Okay, however, technically speaking, when you play the note that looks like B natural, we're going to call that C flat. Okay? And that's because in a scale, you always have to go up to the next letter. So G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, which is kind of weird, but just trust me on that. D flat, E flat, F, G flat. So the one little white dot you're seeing there is F. Again, you need not memorize a thing. Just watch the colors change on your screen. Now, as you'll recall, in the moon picture, 6 o'clock was pretty much the darkest, shadowiest version of the moon that we saw. And as we come back up to 7 o'clock, we're going to be at D flat. So D flat is there. We're going to have 5 black notes and 2 natural notes. And if we keep going, bum, 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 D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat. Our next key center's A flat. And you can see exactly what's happening here. It's like a really easy IQ test. Okay? So, and then A flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, E flat. We're going to have 3 black keys. Okay. Now let's figure out the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That note is B flat. So our next scale is going to be B flat. Do, 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 do. And if you were to play that on a piano, you'd see you're only playing 2 black keys, and then do, 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 do. The next one is F, B flat, C, D, E flat, F. So let's get F up there, and then you've got 1 black key. So it's just like the moon thing that I showed you. How cool is that? That is nature at work. That is the natural order of things. Okay? So let's take the letters away, for example. So just take a look at that. Okay? That's a lot less confusing than trying to memorize all kinds of sharps and flats. Let's look at it with the moons. With you can call me Reverend Moon if you want after this, because I'm preaching the gospel of the circle of fifths. I can be the second Reverend Moon. Okay, so you see what's happening here. So you don't have to worry about all the details. Okay, just see it. Now let's talk about how to make this easier to find the root notes on the guitar. Okay. Now, let's say I'm on C, the number 1, smack dab in the middle. I'm playing this at the 8th fret, 6th string. If I want to go up a 4th or down a 5th, you'll see that 4 to the right and 5 to the left both give me the note F. So those are the distances depending on which direction you go in. And I'll demonstrate that. C, D, E, F. When you say bud, boom, 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 boom. I don't know if you remember that Budweiser ad from the 70s. I'm showing my age now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm at an F higher up than the C. But now if I go to the left, and if I go from the C, C, B, A, G, F. That's another way to get to the F. So either 4 up or 5 down. And then, so just put this on a back burner because it's going to help you find the root notes on the guitar. The opposite is true. If I go 5 up, it's the same as 4 down. So if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that was like the C going to the G. If I go C, B, A, G, either I get the high G up here if I go to the right, or I get the low G down there if I go to the left. Okay? Now I promised you you'd be able to do this on the guitar without any printed music. And here is the key. Here's the way to do this. So if you want to keep your roots on the same string, meaning you're doing your scales or some arpeggios, and you just want to go around that circle of fifths. Now, this is actually, I must say, I don't want to confuse you, I like to go counterclockwise when I do exercises. Okay? So this would be the equivalent. Remember, C was at 12 o'clock. This would be like if we're going to the left. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you go to the left or right. We're still always adding 1 black key, then 2 black keys and all that. I happen to enjoy this order. It's a personal preference. You need not do it. Okay? But if we're going to go C and we want to get to F, we're at the 8th fret. You can go up 5 frets. See that? So we could do a C scale with the first note as 8, and then we could go up to the 13th fret and go and we'd be going around the circle, 1 step. Another way you could do it is by going down 7 frets. Okay? You don't have to play the scale. It's only about the beginning note right now. So up 5 frets, or from the 8th fret down to the 1st fret, down 7. That's if you want to keep it on the same string. Now, but very often we have to switch strings if we're going around the circle. So that's pretty easy. It's just another couple moves. you would stay in the same fret and go up. So I'm at the 8th fret E string, going up to the 8th fret A string, or you could do like the 3rd and 4th note that I have here, the 3rd fret on the A string. You go down a string and down 2 frets. So these 4 moves, I'm going to go back a frame so you can see it, either up 5 frets, down 7 frets. I'd start with that one. And then you can go do these where you're switching strings. Those are ways to get around the circle. Okay, so let's go to the next frame. Here it is written out as tab, and as you can see, this is just by nature of music paper, it's much more confusing looking and not as friendly as that circle image that I showed you. Okay, now let's say we were going to practice an arpeggio or a scale or whatever. These only represent the first notes of what we do. So let's say I were to play a scale, just to go do 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 do. Oh, sorry, do 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 do. That would be the 8 right there, the very first one that you see underneath the C. Then I would go down to the F, and I would do a scale starting with the lowest string, 1st fret. Okay, then the 3rd one would be the B flat. That's at the 6th fret. And if you just follow this, you can go around the circle. And I'm going to make this sheet here available as a cheat sheet for download, so you can just go ahead and download that. And this is all along the same string, and here it is on the adjacent strings. So if, for example, you were starting something on the A string, like the C at the 3rd fret, I'm starting on the A string, then I would jump down there. I think you can see what's going on. This is not to be memorized. You know, you just can always say, in this case, I'm going 4 notes up, not 5 notes, because I'm going backwards in the circle, like I said. Okay, so as I explained, I enjoy the sound of going up a 4th or down a 5th, so that's counterclockwise in the circle, but the concept is the same. You can actually learn the circle of 5ths if you just think 5 frets up or 7 frets down, and then see what note you end up on. C, 5 frets up, it's F. 7 frets down, B flat. Can I go 7 frets down? No, I run out of room. Can I go 5 frets up? Yeah, E flat. And so you'll learn it just by the 5 fret up, 7 fret down formula. Okay? So that's it. That's the lesson. Just keep observing. Look for the natural order of things. And if you look at it enough, it will be revealed to you. And the sharps and flats or accidentals in any given key will be as obvious to you as 3 p.m. coming after 2 p.m. So you just have to spend a little time observing. This is not a memorization project, okay? Just observe and enjoy and behold the wonder of the natural order of things as it comes through music. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave a comment below. If you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you enjoy the download of this little cheat sheet for the bass notes. God bless, and I'll see you at the next lesson. All right.